Okay, so it's recording now and it's live on Facebook. So yes, welcome. Welcome everybody to the Tyne and Wear Sight Loss Council's first webinar. My name is Eamon Dunn and I'm the Engagement Manager for the Thomas Pocklington Trust for the North East. And firstly, thank you everybody who's come along tonight for giving up your time. It's most appreciated. So we could have chosen any number of topics to discuss for our first webinar, but the members of the Sight Loss Council thought that getting back out there and taking part in sport and fitness was a real priority, given the mental, physical and social benefits of it, especially after the year or so that we've just had. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about access to inclusive sport in Tyne and Wear and the wider North East. So first, a little bit about sight loss councils, for those of you who don't know what they are. Sight loss councils are led by blind and partially sighted members and funded by the charity Thomas Pocklington Trust. They advocate the needs of visually impaired people in our communities and work to improve access to goods and services at a local and national level. Our mission is to empower blind and partially sighted people to drive real change in their local communities. We still have vacancies for our Tyne and Wear Sight Loss Council, so if there's anyone out there who feels they want to join us, get in touch via our website, which is sightlosscouncils.org.uk. And if anyone can hear piano in the background, it's my son on his piano lesson, so please ignore it or sing along with it or whatever. You might not be able to hear it. So that's what sight loss councils are about. There are 10 sight loss councils currently around the country, and they're in places from southwest, southeast, London, Midlands, the northwest, and Yorkshire and Humberside. So we cover quite a lot of the country already, and you'll be hearing from some of our sight loss council members in the Tyne and Wear this evening. So on with the webinar. So just to kind of give you some context, our good friends at RNIB have produced some very useful statistics around accessibility to sport and fitness and that kind of thing. So even before COVID, they estimated that about half of blind and partially sighted people are inactive, compared to about 20% for non-disabled people. And 2/3 of visually impaired people want to be more active. So that's quite a significant amount of people. So this evening, we've got a packed agenda for you, and we're going to be hearing from a number of amazing people, starting with Lee Cawkwell, who is one of our founding Sight Loss Council members. And Lee's going to be talking about how he established a visually impaired football team and also about the power of team sports to change lives. Then we're going to hear from Ashley Rowe from Newcastle United Foundation. Ashley's going to be talking about the health and wellbeing benefits of participation in sport and fitness, as well as opportunities that Newcastle United Foundation has to offer so people can get involved. Thirdly, we'll be hearing from Bickram Ram, who's another of our Sight Loss Council members. Bickram's going to talk about his experience of getting involved in sports at university, and a little bit about equality law as it relates to sport and fitness. Sorry, I'm just getting a text from someone trying to get on the meeting. I'll deal with that in a minute. Then we're going to hear from Mandy Black. Mandy's a leisure and wellbeing team leader for North Tyneside Council, and she'll be telling us how her services are working towards making their centres and services more accessible. Next, we're going to hear from Martin Symcox. Martin's the CEO of a charity called Metro Blind Sport, which are a partner of Thomas Pocklington Trust. Martin's working on some online resources for visually impairment awareness, and that training is going to be available for sports and leisure centre staff to help make their centres more accessible and to help make them feel more comfortable when welcoming people into their centres. Then we're going to hear from Karen Mallett, and Karen's going to tell us how she first got into running and what it's done to change her life. Then we're going to hear from Darren and Nadeem, who's going to be talking about Durham VI cricket. And finally, we're going to hear from Wendy and Graeme, who are going to talk about the North East Visually Impaired Tennis Club. So a packed agenda and lots of people to get through. So that'll be very interesting, I'm sure. Following our panel, we're going to be taking questions. So we've had some questions submitted before this, but if you have any questions, please submit them via the chat facility. And we will deal with those after all the speakers have spoken, as well as any that we've had previously submitted. But before we actually get going with the speakers, can we just do a little poll so we can better understand the barriers faced by blind and partially sighted people when getting involved in sport and fitness? So Nadia, could you bring up the poll, please? Well, the poll's going to ask sort of questions about the barriers of participation. So it's just come up now. Anyone who can't see the poll or has trouble with it, you can sort of let me know afterwards that is it something we're particularly going to focus on the barriers and try and sort of figure out how together we can get around those barriers. So the first one of the barriers that we've put there is the one that's probably most important to you if you could choose that one, or the one that most affects you. So the first one is knowing what's available and where it's on. Secondly, getting there and transport. Thirdly, cost, and then fourthly, accessibility. Now that's actual accessibility or the perception of how accessible something is. And then finally, self-confidence. So choose whichever one of those is the kind of biggest thing that gets in your way. There may be more than one, but just pick the one that's most difficult for you. And we will share the results of the poll at the end. Okay, so that's my introduction over with. So without further ado, can I pass over to our first panel member, which is Lee Cawkwell. Lee, over to you. Lee, I think you're still on mute.
Right, okay. I've got it, yeah.
Great, smashing, right. Thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, Eamon, as you know, like I'm having problems with the computer, so I'm going through the phone. So can you see me okay, yeah?
Yeah, I can see you fine, yeah. Some nice flowers in the background there as well. Yeah,
it's a conservatory that my dad built. Yeah, okay. Right, okay, so I'll crack on. Okay, so hello everybody, and thanks for attending this Thomas Pocklington event. My name's Lee Cawkwell. I am a registered blind person, a member of the Sight Loss Council, and for a number of years I was working as one of the social workers for blind and partially sighted people with Newcastle City Council. So I've been asked to speak about my experiences with the South Shields Visually Impaired Football Club, which was the first representative visually impaired football club from the Northeast participate in the National League. Just before that, I just want to say a little bit in terms of the psychological impact through my personal lived experience, my work and studies. What I've learned is that it's both the social and psychological impact of sight loss. It can be, for a number of people, many visually impaired people, it can be as great an impediment or barrier to social life opportunities as the actual practical and functional aspects of sight loss. For some people losing sight, they can undergo a grieving process and go through stages of loss such as shock and denial and depression, etc. Even those who are congenitally visually impaired, there could be a whole host of societal barriers. Some of you may have heard of the social model of disability, where it includes things such as the built environment, policies and procedures, media representations, and issues around the attitudes and awareness that can be barriers and therefore impact upon emotional and psychological well-being. So I'll come back to that once I just tell me my short story in terms of the football club. So I was registered blind when I was 20, and later in the year I went to the Royal National College for Blind People in Hereford. And it was there when I was doing a computer programming course, I discovered that there was a national football league for partially sighted people with 2 divisions. And I participated in that league for one of the college teams, playing in venues such as Birmingham, London and Hereford. And had an absolutely fantastic time in terms of being part of that team and, the physical activity and the social benefits. So I was there a year and then I returned to the Northeast. But unfortunately, I discovered that the most northern team in the National League was one from Leeds, White Rose of Leeds. And so that motivated me, along with having a cousin with the same eye condition as me, who was a rather good footballer, to set up a team for this area. And so that was the beginning of the South Shields Visually Impaired Football Club. And I was involved as player, secretary and organiser for 17 years. And in that time, so over 30 lads play for our team, or sometimes 2 teams, or sometimes I'd in a B team. And we had a reasonable amount of success with promotions and cup finals, playing across England and in Dublin, the Irish games. And we even had players who went on to play for the England team, playing in venues such as Barcelona and Rome, against other international teams. But I think a key point that I would want to make, is that I think what I learned is that it was much more about just the sport and the playing of football. And I think it all hit home to me probably at the end of the first season. We had a presentation night at a venue called the Sundial on the coast in South Shields, where we had a really good turnout. I think we had over 160 people, and it was also attended by the mayor of South Tyneside, who actually, she happened to be registered blind as well. And the guys went up to get the trophies for winning promotion and player of the year and top scorer. And then at the end, my name was called out, and it turned out the lads had sort of they'd done a bit of a collection and got me a Newcastle United shirt, which was signed by all the squad. And all of a sudden, I realised I had to say a few words, and I think it all sort of came together on my mind's eye in terms of what it was about. Because yes, it was about disability and great equity in terms of visually impaired people from Tyneside in the northeast being able to participate in football in the National League. But it was about that much more. I think it was a journey that all the lads went on together that I don't think any of us will ever forget. It was about self-discovery and growth in terms of, psychologically, self-confidence, self-esteem, obviously about participation and inclusion. It was for me, it was like it was a foundation of a springboard where I saw, many people like moving on, whether it be the confidence to move on to relationships, to get married, education, employment. I think there would have been about 8 of the lads who, through the peer support and the growth and self-confidence and the sharing of information, learned how they could actually go to university, and 8 of them went on to get degrees and are now working as professionals. So I think, apart from possibly my children, it's one of my proudest achievements. And what I would want to say is that obviously the football club, it was a specialist club and organisation for visually impaired people. But what I think one of the key points I want to make is that the benefits that those guys sort of gained in terms of that physical and psychological well-being, I think what we want to achieve, and hopefully this is the beginning of a journey together where we can look at the mainstream, whether it be gyms, pools, fitness classes, in terms of whether it be about awareness or policy procedure, where the people of Tyne and Wear who are blind and partially sighted can hopefully gain greater confidence in accessing these facilities, and again therefore gain those physical and psychological benefits. So basically that was me. Try to get that in 5 minutes. Hope I did that. Yeah. So as Eamon said, I'll be happy to take any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. That's great. Really good to hear from you. So next we've got Ashley Rowe from Newcastle United Foundation. Ashley, over to you. Now, Ashley's got to go after this, haven't you, Ashley, because you've got childcare commitments. So any questions for Ashley, we can put her after this meeting because she won't have time to stay to the end. Well, thank you very much for coming, Ashley. Okay,
hey, Eamon. So thank you for having me here today. So my name's Ashley Lowe and I'm the Health and Wellbeing Manager at the Newcastle United Foundation. So I've just come along today to do a quick chat with you about kind of the physical and mental benefits to taking part in sport and exercise. So I just thought I would quickly kind of discuss who the Newcastle United Foundation are, because I'm aware that people may not have heard of us. So we are the charity arm of Newcastle United Football Club. We work with over 60,000 people a year in the local community. We've got programs available for young children aged from 5 all the way up to older adults. So you could come on one of our programs throughout the full life course. What we do is we use the power of the Newcastle United badge to inspire and engage hard to reach people. So we use the love of football in the region to get people to come to our programs that may not normally engage in health interventions. And through these programs, we encourage learning, we support employability, and we promote healthy lifestyles for people in the region. So the foundation, we work in Newcastle, Gateshead, North Tyneside, and all the way up into Northumberland as well. So first of all, let's have a little chat about some of the physical activity benefits that we can get as adults. So you might not know that we should actually be doing about 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. So moderate exercise can be going for a walk, riding a bike, or swimming, something that gets the heart rate up just a little bit and you can feel you've got increased breathing. Or we can do just over an hour, so 75 minutes of vigorous exercise. So that would be running, playing sport, or walking up the stairs. So something to just bear in mind. So the reason that we should take aerobic exercise like that, so something that gets the heart rate up, gets our breathing increases, because it really does benefit your physical health. It's going to reduce your chance of getting diabetes, cardiovascular disease, joint and back pain. It reduces your risk of getting some cancers as well. So it's just something to bear in mind that we should be looking to build up to doing about 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. Now, some of you might be sat there thinking, like, how on earth am I going to fit that much exercise into my life? But something is better than nothing. So I always advise that you do things in 10-minute increments. So I would imagine most of us do have 10 minutes in our day to get ourselves a tiny little bit out of breath, whether that's doing some workout in the house, going for a walk around the block, or just anything that you can think of that's going to get that heart pumping, get the blood pumping around the body, because it's really going to benefit your health and extend your life. So something else that we should consider is just sitting down less. I think especially now a lot of us are probably working from home, we can be very guilty of sitting down a lot. So we may we might drive to the shops, we might sit and watch the telly, we might sit at computers all day. We really need to try and break up that sitting time, because sitting down is really bad for us. So we want to be having breaks from our computer and having breaks from the TV and getting up and moving the body. We're also going to look at how we can build strength. So we need to keep our muscles strong. Keeping your muscles strong will reduce your chance of getting pains as you age, but it also keeps your bones strong. Now, if we don't have strong bones, they're much more likely to break as we get older, which obviously is not a good thing. So the ways that we can build our strength up is by doing weight-based exercises, by doing yoga, or if we think about day-to-day activities, carrying shopping bags, things like that, that can help to build the strength in the muscles. If you're a little bit unsure where to start, I always advise going on YouTube if that's accessible for you, because there's a wide range of free videos on there that can teach the most beginner exerciser, and it's free and it's in the comfort of your own home. And the final thing that we should do is try and improve our balance. If we improve our balance, we're going to reduce our chance of falls. And obviously, if we fall as we age, that means that we're more likely to break our bones. And again, obviously, no one wants that. So ways that we can improve our balance are by dancing. And so we can do that in the house. You know, no one needs to be watching. We can do Tai Chi, or we can play sports such as bowls, or walk and football, which is something that we offer at the foundation. So we want to aim to do strength building and balance exercises about twice a week. So yeah, so just wanted to kind of run all that past you and just let you know that physical activity, obviously we know that it's good for us, but there's a wide range of things that we should be doing and that we can do. And it's just about thinking what suits you. You know, going for a run isn't going to be suitable for everybody, but getting up and going for a little walk maybe, or going for a swim. So it's just trying to think, what do you enjoy doing? What have you enjoyed doing in the past? And think how you can fit more of that into your week. I always advise putting your exercise in your diary like you would a meeting, and then you're much more likely to do it and not put it off. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to discuss is why exercise can really boost your mental well-being. So you may be aware that if you exercise, it reduces your stress levels. So even getting yourself out and about for a walk can, if you're feeling a little bit stressed, overwhelmed, a bit anxious, can really help to reduce those stress levels. It's going to release endorphins. So endorphins are feel-good chemicals that release in your brain when you do exercise. So that's kind of like the way that Mother Nature tries to encourage you to keep on exercising, by releasing all these feel-good chemicals. You're going to increase your energy levels. So it might seem a bit counterproductive going out burning energy, because you'll think, oh, well, that'll tire me out. But actually, it's really good for giving you energy. And then the side effect of that is that you're going to sleep better on a nighttime. So what we don't want to do is exercise just before we go to bed. You know, we want to have at least a good couple of hours beforehand. But if you are feeling a little bit tired in the afternoon, getting yourself out, doing some exercise is really going to boost your energy levels. Exercise is also another way of increasing your chance of socializing with people, going for a walk with your dog, meeting other dog walkers, taking part in sport. You know, you're going to meet other like-minded people. So you've got that chance to socialize, which is really good for your well-being as well. So getting yourself out and about outdoors has been proven to improve mental health overall. So if we can go for a walk and be out and about in nature, in the fresh air, it's going to give not only your physical health a boost, but your mental health as well. And a lot of exercises can be totally free. So if cost is an issue, there's, having a walk is totally free. Cycling, obviously you need a bike, but there's lots of ways. We just need to get creative. So it doesn't have to be expensive. It can be quite cheap. Commuting to work can be something that we could do. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone in that way. But exercise can also encourage you to change other unhealthy habits. So if we smoke, drink too much wine, or eat too much junk food, if we're trying to go on a bit of a health kick, then we're much more likely to adopt other healthy behaviours alongside the exercise. And overall, it's going to boost your self-esteem and make you feel good. So nobody has done a workout that they have regretted. That's my little go-to kind of phrase. You only regret the workout that you don't do. So how many times have you planned to do something, you've not done it, you feel worse? But if you've gone out and you've done some exercise for the day, you always will feel better. So it's just something to bear in mind and try and give you that boost to go out and be active. So that was just kind of a little rundown of the physical and mental health benefits to doing some sport. So I just wanted to let you know of some opportunities at the Newcastle United Foundation that you might be interested in. So when it comes to mental health, we've got a campaign running at the moment called the Be a Game Changer campaign. So some of you may have heard of it. So basically, the Be a Game Changer campaign, it encourages people in our region to talk openly about mental health. Unfortunately, the North East has actually got one of the highest rates of suicide nationally. We know that 75% of suicides are men, but also that suicides are massively on the increase for young females under 25. And this needs to change. Suicide is totally preventable. It doesn't need to happen, but it is a sad fact that it is very it's happening a lot and a lot more. But by talking about things, we can kind of, hope to reduce these rates. So we want to encourage people to, if you are struggling, speak up. So whether that is to someone that you are close with, like a family member or friend, it might be someone from the Sight Loss Council, it could be your GP, or you could use one of the online services that are free. There's plenty of like text services and online services at the moment where you can get in touch, ring the Samaritans. Really do encourage you, because once you speak up about your struggles, it lifts that burden just a touch to keep you going whilst you get the help that you need. So we're encouraging people to speak up if you're struggling, but also to look out for your friends and family members. If one of your friends and family members has not been acting quite like themselves, or you've just got a little bit of a gut instinct that there's something not quite right, ask them how they are. As British people, we always say, oh, how are you? Yeah, fine. But that's more of a greeting rather than inquiring about someone's well-being. So we'll always encourage you to ask twice. So if you were a little bit worried about someone, ask them how they are. If they say, I'm fine, we would advise that you say, are you sure? Because you're not really seeming like yourself. I'm here to talk if you need it. That can be the kind of the thing that someone needs to open up. So check in on people, ask them how they are, and speak up yourself if you're struggling. Now, if you want to know more about the Be a Game Changer campaign, please Google it, or I can pop a link in the chat box. We've got loads of free resources for individuals and organisations. So we have things like posters, leaflets. We've made videos with some fans talking about their mental health and the caption of Newcastle United women. We do events, so we could come to an organisation or a workplace. We could put on a walking football tournament specific to the needs of the organisation, and we use that as a tool to chat about mental health in a really comfortable way. And all of our support is free. We also do online workshops as well, so we can deliver a mental wellbeing workshop or a workshop on sleep and stress. So if anyone's interested, please do get in touch and I can let you know more about all of that. Now, something else you might be interested in is our walking football sessions. So walking football is kind of what it says on the tin. It's football without the running, although a lot of our participants will try to run. So it's kind of trying to manage that can be a little bit difficult at some venues. It's for over 50s. We've got 8 or 9 venues set up at the moment across Newcastle, North Tyneside and Gateshead. And they're totally free. And we do have participants that attend that are visually impaired. So this might be something that you're interested in attending. So please do get in touch. And then the other session we're running that might be of interest is blind football. So we do run a weekly blind football session, and that is for children and young people aged between 5 and 16. So again, you might know someone that might be interested in that. So I've kind of just done a really, really whistle-stop tour of some of the programs that we have. You can Google the Newcastle United Foundation and have a look on our website, or if you just want to know a little bit more about what I've talked about, please do email me and I can pick up the phone and give you a call and chat more. So I hope that was useful and helpful. And as Eamon said, I do have some childcare issues. As you can see, I'm currently sat in a nursery. But yeah, so I'll be more than happy to answer any questions via email or telephone.
That's great. Thanks a lot, Ashley. It's been really good to hear from you. So yeah, people can get in touch with you. If they want to get in touch with you, get in touch with me first and I can give your contact details up. But searching on the web, you can come up with your website quite quickly, I imagine. Thank you. We'll let you go. Yeah, thanks again and speak soon. Okay. Bye. Right. Next we have Bickram. Are you ready to tell us a bit about your experiences of sport at university and a bit about equality law as it relates to sport and fitness?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. You're gonna have to forgive me. Yes, I know I'm talking from Newcastle. My accent's Birmingham. I get a lot of that. But so, I attended university. I graduated last year from a university. I did sports science with coaching. I'm now doing my international sports law in a master's. So what I found when I was at university was participation in sports was a struggle for me because there was no direct disability accessible sports there. So I joined American football and I played a friendly, and I was told that I couldn't then continue with the sport because not only was I a danger to myself, but I was a danger to everybody else. For those of you who've watched American football, it's quite an impact contact sport. It's quite physical, and you can get serious injuries from it as well if you're not careful. So I decided to approach university and say, like, this is not really fair. I was told I could attend the training sessions. I was more than welcome to training sessions, but I couldn't partake in the games. And I still had to pay the £300 membership for the year. So I approached university and I said to them, I says, well, you know, can I start a mixed disability football team, a pan team? They said, okay, yeah, that's fine. Put your ideas down. They put me in touch with somebody at the student union. I got in contact with them. We put a flyer together and everything. There was nobody really attended the opening and event. I don't think the university was too bothered really about that because it would have been more of a cost to them. But what I'm trying to get across is that sports participation for people with visual impairment in university, in my experience, is a negative for me at the moment. I know Loughborough does have a good sports participation for people with visual impairment, but they do have a section for people with visual impairment as well. But I think if universities could team up with external people, groups, organisations, like a team I play for, North East Football Club, that could be beneficial for them and the universities for sports participation. Now, I just want to quickly touch upon, obviously, when it comes to gyms and organisations, if we go to first the Qualities Act 2010, now what I didn't realise was I thought the university had been discriminating against me. Now, what they was doing, it's called positive discrimination, which was a positive action, which leads to a positive action. So basically what they did was they give me a reason why I couldn't partake in the sports in terms of games, and then they tried to do a positive action by helping me do something else. But I didn't know that in the law that was already in the Discrimination Act 2010, and it's sections 158 and 159. I'll put a link. There's a paper. There's a report on it. So I'll put the link in the chat so people can read the report on the barriers of breaking down sports. But also when I just want to talk about a little bit about the gyms as well, because when it comes to going to organisations like swimming, basketball, gyms, pools and everything, there's not really a lot of help there for people with visual impairments. The equipment's all over the place. Sometimes you can't use the machines because you can't see the settings on them. And I find a lot of the gyms nowadays, they've got this urban kind of aura about them, you know, minimum lighting and things like that. So if I just go back to the Health and Safety Work Act 1974, basically, if you go to section 3, and I'll put another link up in the description, it's basically the organisations not only have they got an obligation to the employees, but they've got an obligation to the people who attend these gyms to make sure that they feel safe, and that they are safe in the organisation, in the venue. And me personally, I will say when I go to a gym, I don't feel safe because, again, if I'm looking for a certain weight and I'm picking up, I might injure myself. And I feel like the gyms need to do something about this. They need to look at that kind of side and think, well, how can we hold specialist classes? Can we get somebody in from the council can we approach the council and ask them to put somebody in to help people with visual impairments? Because going to the gym, and it's about socialising, participation and building your confidence in the gym, and getting out and exercising. So, yeah. But I'll put these links in the description. And also I just want to finally say is that what we need to do is, as we're coming together as a group now, is we need to work in partnership with organisations, whether it be gyms, you know, swim baths, local leisure centres, whatever, and make sure that they're actually implementing these laws, these regulations, rules. But most of all, we want people like ourselves to go to the gyms and feel confident. And participation is the key here, because just because you've got a disability doesn't mean that we can't participate in certain activities. Yes, they might have to be adapted, but we should all work together in terms of adapting those situations to make life easier and suitable for everybody. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please let me know at the end, and I'll put the links up in the chat.
Thanks, Bickram. It's really good to hear your experiences there, although not great. Still, it's really important to hear that. Okay, so next we've got Mandy Black, who's a leisure and wellbeing team leader at North Tyneside Council. Mandy, over to you.
Hello there. So I'll tell you a little bit about my role. Basically, I'm a team leader for Active North Tyneside as well as Sport North Tyneside. So the difference is we run a number of public health initiatives to get inactive people active. The other side of my job role is I manage some outdoor facilities, including an athletics track. We've got golf greens, bowls greens, football pitches. And then my third part of my role is what I studied in, which is traditional sports development. So working with sports clubs to bridge some of the gaps in sport, obviously inclusion being one of those. Now we've come to a point where we're going through a recovery plan for COVID. So it's been actually a really good opportunity for us to look at some of the programs and see where we fall a little bit. And inclusion sport is one of those programs where we know we can do better. So at the moment, we're looking at our program and seeing how we can make things more inclusive. We'll provide a number of programs. Funny enough, it's some of the stuff Ashley was talking about around the health benefits. We do work in partnership with the Newcastle Football Foundation for some of these projects. But there's like real health benefits in some of these. We've got like body benefit program, which is to help weight loss. We've got fitness programs, and we've got run groups, walk groups, which is great. But how do we make these accessible for everybody? And this is kind of like where I am here and why I'm turning to you guys to see where we can learn and adapt things to make these kind of sessions adaptable. And we know that one size doesn't fit all. And I guess that's where we need to learn. There's no point in just assuming and putting some stuff on for the sake of it when we don't actually really know what individuals want. So I'm here from a kind of like consultation point of view. I want to know what it is that we need to do to make things better, to make centres more accessible, some of our community sessions more accessible. In principle, in terms of sessions overall, we know that it has to be any sport, regardless of who it's for, needs to be the right place, the right time, with the right coach at the right cost. So putting that into mind, we know that transport can obviously be a barrier for some people. So how can we make things more localised and on people's doorsteps? What other barriers can we face? Our centres, I think you just mentioned there, Bickram, about the lighting and gyms. I mean, it's good to know, like, can some of you guys come along to our centres and tell us if there's anything in the centres that we can improve on? Because I just think maybe it's that we don't know. Obviously there's some legislation in place which we do try to follow. I think we've just had a policy accepted for guide dogs in the centres, so I'm not quite sure if that's been ticked off, but it's definitely in the process of that happening. We've just started some other inclusive sessions, which is a good example of what we've done to adapt things. So we've just started a adapted cycling session. So we have a number of adapted cycles. We have I've seen someone mention the tandem bike. We do actually have a tandem bike. We have trikes. We have bikes of every different shapes and size. But one of the problems we had that some of our trikes didn't have a low enough step over, so some people with more physical disabilities couldn't actually get on the bike. So what we've done is invested in more bikes to be able to allow a lower step over, just to enable them to obviously use the bikes a little bit more. So we're looking at some of our wider projects now, and I guess it's about taking things forward. We had some success. Karen, I think you might have been part of this project. So Kerry, my colleague, has had quite a little bit of experience working for Newcastle City Council, and they did a little bit of work around some of the accessibility, and she's brought it over to Newcastle, to North Tyneside, sorry. So the story is we had a generic run group, and a lady called Julie had a visual impairment, and she decided to join our run group. And there was a guide runner available for her, I think, at this point. She attended the session. She'd done really, really well. And actually, she was quite a role model. Kerry was quite inspired by her story, so she decided to get involved with it. I think Kerry might already have known Karen at this point. I'm not quite sure, yeah. So it just goes that partnership links really do work. So anyway, Kerry was inspired to get more guide runners, so we could create kind of a run group, and I think Karen might have been involved in this run group. Obviously the big barrier around that is actually getting guide runners, and some of the stuff that we learned on there, it's not just about putting them on a course, because it needs to be a little bit about experience as well. Unless you're actually doing it on a daily basis, sometimes experience comes more than just attending a course. Obviously, due to a number of factors, I think lighting at one of the facilities was a problem, which we've actually on the verge of sorting. We've got a brand new facility there actually, Karen, so that's at Churchill athletics track. We're looking at lighting at the moment, so we know that was an issue, especially around dark nights. And also COVID came into play, so that obviously everything has folded. So we're kind of like trying to get things back on track, but we want to learn, we want to listen, and we want to move things forward. So I guess that's why I'm here. I'm an open book, and I want to hear your ideas, and I want to know what we can do better in North Tyneside.
Thanks, Mandy. We'll definitely be taking you up on that offer. Yeah, no, it's really good to and obviously Tyne and Wear covers 5 local authorities, so obviously we're in touch with the others as well, and you seem to be doing kind of quite a lot to make your centres more accessible. So definitely take you up on that offer, and thanks very much for all what you just said. So yeah, great, thank you. So actually, on a kind of related subject, Martin Symcox is going to speak next about some resources. Martin's the CEO of a charity called Metro Blind Sport, which is based in London but reaches out across the country through various means, through Thomas Parkinson Trust and the engagement activity. But Martin's going to talk about some online resources that him and colleagues are getting together to help work with local sort of staff and leisure centres and sports facilities to make them more accessible from the point of view of awareness of staff. So Martin, hi, over to you.
Thanks very much. And yes, I think the link in terms of what Mandy and I suppose Bickram been talking.
Sorry, mate, you're breaking up.
Really do know what I'm going now. My name's Martin. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it's kind of a bit buffering a bit, I think. Yeah, so it's not so bad now. It was just when you started.
What I did, I'll stop the video just in case. So that might help. My name's Martin. I work for Metro Blind Sport. We are a small charity based in London that provides sport and physical activity opportunities. As well as doing that, I work for Thomas Parkinson Trust to sort of help share the messaging around sport and physical activity, and to help overcome some of the barriers that are associated with sport. And one of those really is about the knowledge of staff that work in facilities and that provide sport. You may or may not know, but there are training programs that support coaches that work with blind and partially sighted people. There are more broadly training courses that help with in terms of understanding disability sport, but nothing that really focuses on those people that are going to be the first point of contact, those that are going to have the interaction with people when you go into a leisure centre. So what we've been working on with UK Coaching is a sort of a toolbox, an online toolbox that can be used free of charge by leisure centre staff and those sort of front of house people, the receptionists, duty managers, lifeguards, gym instructors, to give them the knowledge that would help enhance the experience of blind and partially sighted people that are going into these facilities. So I just thought I'd perhaps just give you a bit of an overview of sort of some of the content that's going to be included. So we're going to give a bit of a background in terms of the sight loss sector, and we're going to talk about the different types of vision impairment. What we want to do is similar to what Thomas Parkinson Trust had created before, but to create a scenario-based videos that can be seen by the people that have taken part in the training, to understand different types of sight loss and what the effect that has when visiting a leisure centre. So we'll kind of make an interactive leisure centre and have people going through that leisure centre with different sight conditions. We want to be clear with people about the type of terminology that is used, so that people are interacting in the right way. I think for us, we would then provide them with links for further reading. So if they wanted to know more about macular degeneration, then they've got links to go to. But what we're trying to get people to understand in the first place is that there are very different types of sight loss. We want people to understand the barriers. So for a number of years now, we've been aware of what the barriers are: lack of information about opportunities, the perception in terms of what people can or cannot do, the lack of quality about adaptive equipment, and so on. So we've known those. The British Blind Sport talked about those in the report 7 or 8 years ago, yet we still haven't really overcome those. So we want to make people aware that work in leisure centres about these barriers that exist so that they can help us to overcome them. It's going to be very much case study led. So we're going to use Blind and Partial Sighted people to deliver some of this content, to talk about the benefits, to talk about communication, not just in-person communication, but also perhaps how people could communicate externally so that people are aware of what opportunities are available. They are aware that there's good quality provision happening in local leisure centres, within local authorities. So we want to make sure that those people that are perhaps creating some of that communication are aware of what they can and what they can't do in terms of that communication. So that would also include a real encouragement in terms of making sure that the website is optimized, making sure that there's a call to action that is accessible within either a website, a newsletter, or social media content, making sure that there is audio description included, but also in terms of the marketing materials that are used, is to make sure that they use imagery that demonstrates blind and partially sighted people taking part in sport and physical activity at the same time. We want to make sure that we give people that work in leisure centres and similar venues information about how to guide. So we're going to include that in the content as well. And we're going to include, and I think it was mentioned a moment ago, just about policies on sort of guide dogs and those things. So we're going to make sure that we've got a guide dog user talking about their experiences and really how they could be enhanced as well. So we don't just focus on the people, we don't just focus on communication. We want to make sure that we're focusing also on the environment, so the leisure centre itself. So we're going to focus on the positive about what good looks like. So we'll have a centre manager highlighting everything that's being done well, sort of a video that's walking through a leisure centre with prompts that are there for the person taking part in the training, just about why it is important that corridors are clear of obstructions, why it's important that doors aren't half open. The importance of lighting was mentioned a moment ago, and also things around signage inside and outside a facility, and that being positioned in the correct way, with good colour contrast, with the right mix of words and tactile information, tactile signage as well. Finally, we'll talk a bit about equipment and what facilities can do to enhance experiences, certainly in the gym, around tactile markings, around spacing of equipment, the use of bump-ons and so on. And a bit of a brief overview of technology and how that can enhance a user's experience. But sort of in summary, we want them to go away with knowledge, and we want them to be able to put that knowledge into practice. So we're going to be challenging the people that use this toolbox to do that, to go away from the training, to use that knowledge that they've got and to make a real change to the facility and the way that they interact and welcome blind and partially sighted people into their facilities. So in terms of timescales, we're looking for this to be ready sort of early autumn, with the work being done to create the content over the rest of the summer. So Eamon, I think that's it for me. There's some other projects that we're working on that I'll circulate through Eamon at the right times. But very much so, we'd like to invite Symcox Council members from around the UK to be involved in some of the testing of the work that we do.
Great, thanks, Martin. That's really good. I think this could be a really useful resource, and the fact that it's available, free of charge, will obviously add value to any work that local, stakeholders, charities are doing with leisure centres anyway, but it just means that it will reach far more people, because obviously councils have got kind of limited resources. So something like this is going to be really, really welcome, I think. So thanks for that. Right, so in a sort of change of pace, if I can use that point, Karen Mallett's going to be next, and she's going to be talking about how she got into running and how it's kind of enriched her life, I suppose, really. So Karen, over to you.
Hi everybody. I've been running since 2015, and how I got into running was I was sitting in the Henshaw's office one day, and I can't remember how the conversation started, but Philippa Taylor handed me a cup of coffee and she said, I've signed you up for the Great North Run. And I sort of looked at her and I said, you've signed me up for the Great North Run? I can't run. And when I say I can't run, what I meant was I literally couldn't run. I couldn't run from one lamppost to another lamppost, and she wanted me to run 13.1 miles. So I thought, oh, right, okay, I've signed up to do it, so I'll do it. So that's exactly what I did. I started off by running from one lamppost to another, and it was really, really hard. One lamppost became two lampposts became a kilometre, 1 kilometre became, and as it went on. So I did the Great North Run, and I did it within 3 hours and 21 minutes. And that wasn't a bad time. I had a guide runner who unfortunately didn't do any training with me. He just said he would run at my speed, and then unfortunately decided that at the Tyne Bridge he was going to kind of walk. However, his walk was my run, because he had a long stride, so it wasn't too bad. So I did the Great North Run, but while I was doing my training, I felt like, because my guide runner wasn't running with me, I needed somebody to run with me. So I rocked up at a This Girl Can event that Kerry Nesbitt was running. Mandy, who you've already heard from tonight, works with Kerry. And I just rocked up and I just said, I want to run, not sure what, what response I would get. And Kerry, being Kerry, she sort of looked at me and she said, fine, and no problem, I'll guide you. So she did, she guided me brilliantly. I don't know whether she'd ever guided anybody before, but she certainly didn't let on that she hadn't. And we did 5 kilometres that night. So after I did the Great North Run, I thought, well, am I going to continue running? And I sort of dipped out of it a little bit and did a little bit of tennis and did other various things. I tried the gym, but like I've heard lots of you talk about tonight, they found the gym very inaccessible. And the reason for that was because the people at my gym basically wanted to hold my hand and wouldn't let me be me. And yes, it would have been great to have a little bit of support to set the machines up, but then to be left alone and to do my own thing. But that wasn't the case. I was told that no way could I be left alone, and I would have to have a chaperone for the whole time I was there, which doesn't look great. And so I just didn't go back to the gym. And then I continued running, and then decided that I would do the Great North Run again. And I ran for Sight Service. We are now called Vision and Hearing Support, and I work for formerly Sight Service. And I did the Great North Run again, and did it in 2 hours and 51 minutes with the support of a team of guide runners that I'd had, which includes Jocasta Williams, who was hoping to be here this evening to talk about guide running, but she couldn't be. But she guided me brilliantly. We did lots of 10k events, we did lots of 5k events, and now I still continue to run with her, and I'm doing 5Ks in just over 31 minutes, which has been absolutely brilliant. If anybody's interested in running, there is a Facebook page called VI Guides and Runners Northeast, and they hook up runners, VI runners and guides in whichever area you're in. And you can do lots of different things, like there's track running, like Mandy mentioned, which I've done. It's fantastic. Or you can do park run, or you can do 10k runs sort of at your own pace in your own area. So it's definitely worth looking at the different alternatives. And if anybody's got any questions, either at the end of this or in the future, Eamon's got my email address, and please get in touch.
Thanks, Karen. It's great to hear. And we've got Philippa on the webinar, so she'll be able to hear what you said about no, Philippa. I think I was probably there at the time, actually, so I can definitely.
Thanks, Philippa. You did me a real favour.
Yeah. It's funny. I similarly entered the world of running through and been cajoled into it, but I wasn't looked back now. I need to get back out there. I've been a bit lazy lately. Thanks, Karen. So next we're supposed to have Darren and Nadeem to talk about the Durham VI cricket, but I think we've got a technical issue with bringing Darren in. With bringing, certainly Nadeem anyway, because he's down as an attendee and that. So Nadeem, I don't know if you can hear, Kevin sent you a link to join as a panelist. So what we might do is we might hear from Wendy and Graeme next, and just while you're trying to sort that out, and then we can hopefully hear from you about the cricket, or if not, someone else might know about the VI cricket and Durham they can tell us about, or we can certainly send information around afterwards. But let's work on that. And so Wendy and Graeme, do you want to sort of take it in turns and say a little bit about North East Visually Impaired Tennis? Why don't you go first, Wendy? Because you were on first.
Hi everyone. Visually Impaired Tennis, North East Visually Impaired Tennis Club started in 2010, and that was on the back of me. I was working with Actionaires at the time, and I'd been on a PE course, and I found this sound ball and came back home and wanted to know more. So eventually got hold of some. So long story short, I jumped into a competition in 2010, not played it, just learning as I play. Came home on a train, fantastic, wanted to spread this news, because in the past, in the North East, there was no sports that I'd known of. I did do goalie ball when I was 18, or whatever it was, many, many years ago. And I had to do all my training myself. So consequently, there was no other sports about. So when I found the tennis, I thought, right, I've got to tell people about this. This is a fantastic thing. I was involved in cricket at the time, and I got some friends to help me to set the North East Visually Impaired Tennis Club up. And yeah, it's been great ever since. We've got 2 clubs now in the North East, Tees Valley Sound Tennis, and we've got 3 venues in the North East, indoor tennis centres, that we can play tennis at, and it's actually fantastic. Graeme, Mike, do you want to jump in?
I think Wendy's done a great job there. Quickly going to the sport, what I like about VI tennis and blind tennis is that it's very much like a normal game of tennis as we know it, with 3 main differences. One being a ball, which for those VIs here, it's got a wrap in it. The court sizes are slightly smaller, and the number of bounces that players have depends on their eye classification. What I was going to say, I'm not now. I think there's just a few points that have come up from different speakers, which I thought were really important and worth talking about. And one of which Mandy said about centres and involvements and coming and telling us. I was manager of a tennis centre. I knew very little about disability sport until I met Wendy, and meeting someone with passion, enthusiasm, with drive about a sport can turn the heads of a centre manager. And that's how we got tennis started at the Northumberland Club in Newcastle. I'm no longer there now, but through the passion of Wendy and the club, I've become the chairman of the club for about the last 7 years. It's made a huge difference to my life, and I'm a sighted person. Many of my best friends now are through the VI community. There's some names that's nice to see here tonight, that lots of those I've seen from tennis, and it's not just the Northeast. So I think what Mandy said, it's really go along to centres, show your passion, engage. Sometimes just expecting people to know about it, although it'd be nice to, isn't really the reality. and having that passion and drive can really make a big difference. And we're very much a club within a club now, and it's got a huge social side to it. Many players have got independence for travelling, from being at stages for being halfway down the country or in Yorkshire, not being able to leave the house, to now travelling independently because they want to come to their tennis session and they want to stay for 3 or 4 hours afterwards, chatting with their friends and having a drink, or they want to go away for weekends, for weekend tournaments. It's made a huge, huge difference to so many people's lives. So I'd say to everybody out there, tennis is a hard sport for sighted people. It's incredibly hard for VI or blind people. But that's certainly not a reason to not give it a go. So certainly the sessions in Newcastle and Sunderland and in Teesside, we welcome anybody. And once again, Eamon can share our links with you, and I'm sure we would love to answer any of your questions.
Great, thanks, Graeme and Wendy. So I'm still having trouble getting Nadeem on. Nadia or Kevin, do you know? Do you think that's something we're going to be able to do, or should we just move on? Do you think? I think we're going to have to. So Nadeem, if you can hear us, sorry about that. You are on the meeting as an attendee, but we don't seem to be able to get you to be able to actually speak. So is anyone else on the call involved with Durham VI cricket at all?
I'm not involved now, but I have been. I did play many years ago for the Durham cricket, and what I like about sports at the end of the day, you've got to give different sports a try, literally go to see if that suits you. Not every sport suits somebody, you know. I mean, I have bad hip now, so there's no way I could stand around on a field for hours on end playing cricket. So that doesn't suit me now. But to some people it does, and they go, they're in a league, and I think, was it last year? Well, before COVID hit, they actually won one of the League Cups or something like that. So they're doing really well. They are getting more members, and they're needing more members. They play with a size 3 football with ball bearings inside. And again, a bit like tennis, depending on your side category, depends on bouncers, catchers, B1s are allowed. They stand usually quite close, and they can have a runner. But I think, if I remember right, if things have changed. And there's also the international blind cricket, which play with a smaller cricket ball, but it's more of a bend your knee swipe action. It's yeah, I've never played bit, but I've got one of the balls, because it's our tennis club. We like to get different balls so that we do different warm-up activities, and then you can follow the sound of the ball or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, so if you're into cricket, Durham Vipers, well, at least what they used to be called, is the place to go. Is that all right?
Sorry, Wendy, I was just unmuted. I was just trying to still trying to get Nadeem on. No, that's brilliant, actually, considering you came on to talk about tennis. That's really,
yeah, I'll talk about any sport, me.
Fantastic. Well, what we'll do is, if we're not able to get Nadeem on, because we might be struggling for time even if we do. Oh yeah, someone has put on, I think it might be Emma, thank you. Someone's put a link on to Durham cricket.
It's Martin, just to add that the VI cricket is played with a mixture of blind and partially sighted people playing at the same time. And very much just what Wendy said, the rules are very similar to cricket, and scoring is done in a very similar way. So it's very, very close. The adaptations really are the ball, and you're playing with the standard cricket bat. So it's a very popular sport. There are regional leagues, and then a national league, and then cup competitions that occur as well. you know, people, there is a an England cricket team as well that have toured in Australia and India and elsewhere. So a very popular game. And if you, I'll put the link to the BCW website as well. It perhaps just gives a bit more information about the game as well. Oh, somebody's just put that up, so that's fine.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks. So what we'll do is, yeah, we've got information there. Sorry about that, Nadeem. I don't know what happened. It's a technical glitch. But we're kind of up to the point now where we've heard from all our panelists that we're going to hear from. So I'm going to hand over now to my colleague Emma. Just firstly, though, I did hear from someone that they were having trouble putting questions into the chat. So that's not panelists but attendees. Can anybody, Kevin or Nadia, can you? Is that right, or is there something we need to do to fix that? Anyway, but I see what we'll do. I'll hand over to Emma. So we've got some questions that were submitted prior to this, so we can go through those while we sort that out. But you should, those of you who are attending the meeting, you should be able to post questions in the chat. But I think that might be a bit of a problem. So Emma, do you want to go through the questions that we've got already first, and then we'll see where we are after that?
Yeah, so firstly, we've just got a message that's just come in from Catherine Fielding, who I'm sure quite a few people might know from Goalball. So Catherine has posted in the Q&A box, we are hoping to relaunch the North East Goalball Club soon. So if anyone is interested in being involved as a player, coach or volunteer, please get in touch. No previous experience is required. You can just play for fun and fitness or play competitively in the Goalball UK League. Sighted family and friends are also welcome. And Catherine has put her telephone number and also her email, which I will copy into the chat. So thank you for that, Catherine. So I don't know if we've got anybody who's particularly interested in playing goalball, but it's quite a great, well, yeah, it's a great sport, isn't it? Very fast moving.
It's very good goalball to do with sighted people. When I did my final coaching exam, I did goalball with sighted young people, and it was very interesting and very fun today.
Oh, thanks, Bickram. Okay, so I think some of this has partially been answered, but where can we find out what VI friendly activities there are in my local area? So who wants to take that one?
I can take that, Emma. So I would suggest that people go to British Blind Sport website, and they've got an activity finder. So British Blind Sport encourage providers to put up their VI activity on their activity finder. But I very much go to people like Mandy and people that work with local authorities or the active partnerships to go to their websites as well to find out what activity is available.
Thank you. Thanks, Martin.
Can I just jump in? What I would say as well, though, is if they have an activity like running or wherever, find their local running club, or find a club that they want to join and approach them at the end of the day, and they can only say yes or no. Unfortunately, I mean, I fancy trying hockey, and I approached them with no luck, to be honest, because I know a lot of hockey clubs have this pan disability thing, but yeah, not that one. But so yeah, you've got to approach them really, and then because they're more than likely to say yes. I mean, I joined a running club many years ago, but you've got to try it, because not British Blind Sports knows all the answers, unfortunately.
Wendy, that leads really nicely onto one of the questions that we've been asked, and it's, I'd like to go running. Where can I find out about getting a guide runner? And I think it was Karen posted mentioned about guide runners, and there's a Facebook group.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we've put that in the chat. So does anyone have any more ideas about where you can find out about guide running?
To be honest, I would literally just put a post on Facebook, and if it gets shared enough, you'll definitely find someone. Or if you find out who it is and you want to put them in touch with me, I can certainly help them. I know quite a lot of guide runners now. I've got 10 people who guide me regularly, and a lot of them haven't actually done the official guide running course, and they're absolutely brilliant. So it's entirely up to the VI runner and the guide whether they want to have somebody official or not.
Thanks, Karen. And Martin's put the group in the chat again, so it's a Facebook group. We've got one here, it's about football. So are there any opportunities for women's VI football? So I'm going to put that out to everybody.
I'm going to jump in there. We at North, right, there are opportunities, going to be opportunities for VI football for women. What I will say is that you're more than welcome, whoever it's for, to come and join us on a Tuesday evening at Gateshead Stadium, 5 till 6. Our coach is a lady at the minute. And we're not going to be bothered whether you're female or male, as long as you're over the age of 18. And if you can get more VI women with VI involved, then we'll happily try and separate the two teams. But at the moment, we're not too bothered about whether you're female or male. It might change for the competition. I'm not too sure. It shouldn't do, but we're not reached that stage at this moment in time. But if you want to come for participation and enjoyment, what we're currently doing at the minute, because we did start last year, but because of COVID, our fitness has just gone right down and participation numbers have gone down as well. So we're trying to build all that back up before we start to engage in leagues and tournaments. So Tuesday evenings, 5 till 6, Gateshead Stadium, subs are £3. You're more than welcome.
Bickram, is there a website, sorry, Bickram? Or anything, a Facebook group?
Lee?
I've got an email for somebody. If anybody needs an email to contact, they can contact me. Yeah.
If you, and also there's and I can't remember her last name. Her name's Andrew, and she works for the FA. This team's actually run by Durham FA at the minute. So yeah. Also,
I'm going to change to Sunderland shortly.
So can I just add something? You know, all these things that you've got in the chat, and is it possible that they can all be put in an email titled so it's easier for people to access them?
Yeah,
I'm asking too much there.
No. We'll capture all of this, and we can send all these links out to people in whatever format they want them in. So just in an email or in a Word document as links. Or, but I'll talk to Kevin about that and about making them as accessible as possible. But no, because there's quite a lot in there. Now I'm actually going to add one that, because Nadeem can't get on to speak. Nadeem sent me one just before the meeting, which looks quite useful, called VI Sport North East, which I hadn't heard of before. The link is in the chat and it will be sent around, but I think it's still in development. It's got a lot of sports in the Northeast, and I'm just picking one at random, swimming, and it's got Swim Fun Northeast, and there's places you can do. I don't know whether they're all particularly accessible or just the general ones, but I'll have a look at that and see. That looks quite good. It's specific to the Northeast as well. So thanks, Nadeem, for that. That looks
it's quite good that you mentioned about swimming, because someone's actually flagged. It's not really a question, it's more of a statement. So they say that they like to go swimming again, but they're not sure if they feel safe due to COVID. So I don't know if anyone else has actually been swimming since the pools have reopened, and how people have found that at all.
I can just add a little bit in there. I'm not from indoor leisure, but I do know a little bit about the pools from working there in the past. Actually being in a swimming pool is probably one of the safest places to be in terms of COVID, because of the chlorine that's put into the water, kills the bacteria, and the temperature at the pool also helps. The bits to be aware about are the changing rooms, but all the staff, I know particularly in any site that is COVID safe, have to go through a strict cleaning regime to be able to make sure that the changing rooms are cleaned, that space is provided between each of the changing rooms, showers, and even like coming in. I think there's a booking system in particular for some of our swimming pools, and I think that's probably the same across all sites maybe. So they'll only allow a certain number of people in the pools at one time, and it is a booking system. And then there's a little bit of time allocated to be able to clean the change rooms after between each sitting, if you want to call it that. So the centres won't open unless they've got a COVID safe risk assessment in place that is pretty much thorough and ticked off following the guidelines set by like the NGBs and the governing body. So I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I know it does. It's because I think that helps to reassure people, because I think there's a lot of misinformation as well, and a lot of uncertainty. And I think if we can give people the facts about what you're doing to make the places safe, and actually, as you say, you're safer in the pool than you probably are in the restaurant or somewhere else. So yeah, that's really good to know. Thanks, Mandy.
Just going back, people have asked
sorry.
about. Sorry, can I just say, what people have asked about different sports like goalball and football and cricket and stuff. Philippa Taylor actually organised an event where there was different sports, like there was tennis and all sorts of different things went on. And it would be really good if something like that could be organised again, so that goalball, cricket, VI tennis, and so we could get more members who are VI involved in them, because people just don't know whether they're going to enjoy something or not.
I think
You mean
Wendy's
like
got
a
something to say.
Taster
session.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Karen, funny enough, I'm actually involved in something with the help of British Blind Sports. Roy Smith from London, Martin, you know, we've been asked to try and get some, we've been asked to try and put an athletics competition on in the Northeast, right? So before COVID hit, we were going to organise a Have a Go Day, which obviously that had to be cancelled. So we were going to have sports, and it was going to be at Gateshead Stadium. So we're going to have the indoor athletics track, tennis, cricket, football, goalball. And we're limited on sports because of the length and number of people that would be wanting to do different sports. Unfortunately, would maybe try more. But we're now trying to reorganise that, and possibly for October, if COVID doesn't hit again. Obviously, you know, this is so soon as that happens, we will be able to let everybody know.
I'm not quite sure if how in touch or how up to date people are with We Are Rise, which used to be traditionally Tyne and Wear Sport, Northumberland Sport. So they did used to have a club finder on their database that would take you to NGBs, but I think now they've just got a contact us section on the website, the We Are Rise website, so that if there is a specific sport that you're interested, you can contact them. They work very closely with the NGB, so they might be able to put you in the right direction, where it's, I know it's not a taster and you might not get the answers that you want, but it definitely is worth checking out. I know they're very heavy involved in Disability Sport Month, which is October. So I know they do have a number of taster sessions on, so I'm just throwing it your way because it might be something to jump on the back of in terms of raising awareness and having specific taster sessions for VI sessions, or what other inclusion sessions that you might want to put on.
Would you be able to put a link onto that? So that
Yeah,
people can,
the We Are Rise. Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Just reminds everybody, doesn't it, as well? But one thing I'd just like to jump in is, you know, all of us here are adults, I presume, but getting visually impaired children to do sports is sometimes quite tricky. And I think that's down to, unfortunately, being in mainstream schools these days, and you don't get the contacts. You pass the information out, and it doesn't get to the children.
Right.
I mean, and I know that basically because it's like courses. I was in a school doing a tennis course, waiting to go to the sports hall, and the reception was phoned up, and there was said, "Who can we put on this course? Not, is so suitable for this course." You know what I mean? But as I say, it's getting the word out and to a lot of children out there.
Wendy, we've got
some extra.
On the webinar, we've got Penny Dane from North East Sight Matters, who they work with children, young people and families who you may be aware of. And I know Penny's involved in some activities, for all manner of activities actually. So if you go to their website, North East Sight Matters, just search for them, you'll find them. And Penny, if you want to put I'll put the details of your organisation in the report from this in the chat sort of section.
Yeah.
So you can find out, and you can tell them about anything that that you think they might not know of.
Yeah.
So
I know there is one group for visually impaired children, but it's also multi-disability as well. And
is that Smile? Is it?
Pardon?
Is it Smile Through Sport, or is that a different one?
No. Can't think of the name of it at the minute. But they didn't seem to want to pass information on. They just wanted to do their projects.
Oh, okay, right, okay, great.
Yeah.
So Emma, is there any more? Because we're kind of getting to the sort of got 8 minutes left now. Are there any more questions that we haven't kind of covered?
Well, this one relates to Bickram, when you mentioned about equality. So it was, I want to be able to use a gym on my own without having someone to help, which I think, Karen, that was something that you'd mentioned as well, not having somebody kind of following you around and sort of trailing around with you. And so is the equipment in gyms accessible enough? And I'm hoping that Martin is still on the session as well, because obviously we've got 3 people here who've got some great experiences. So
what I'd say from the legal perspective is, if you feel confident and fine that you can use the equipment, okay? So if you go into the gym and you tell them I've got a visual impairment, and they show you how to use equipment, if you feel comfortable and confident to use it, then no, you don't have to. But again, it's a confidence thing. But like I says, the gyms have to make sure that anybody accessing their environment are legally bound to make sure it's safe, not only for them, the person who's using it, but for the individuals around them as well. So, it's about working together with the gyms. I would find it's I understand you don't want to be followed around, and that's absolutely all right, but you've got to make sure that there's a safe environment and you're safe and everybody else around you is safe. And that's really for the gym to work with you individually to assess that and come up with a plan.
I think the biggest problem is the fact that the machines aren't accessible. So in my case, I just couldn't see to set the programs on the treadmill, for example. So if that was set by a member of staff, then that was fine, and that's all the support that I needed. But that wasn't offered at all. It was just it was all or nothing. So you had to have somebody literally chaperone you the whole way around. So if the machines could be more accessible, then there wouldn't be a problem, but they're not.
I would concur with Karen, it's Martin here, that machines could be more accessible, but they're not. There have been examples of people that I've worked with before where they have used the bump-on stickers to make the machines more accessible, but certainly the latest sort of cardiovascular machines are touchscreen, and that then just become more difficult. But there are some machines that are easier to use than others, but there's a lot of work still to do to make them more accessible, I'm afraid.
Realistically, when you go into a gym and you've got a disability, it's something called a PARQ form. Everybody must have this filled in before you start at a gym. So it's about your medical history and your medical conditions. And really the gym should be adapting so reasonable adjustments for you. And if they're not doing this, they're not meeting the Equalities Act, really. And I understand that cardiovascular, especially running machines, and I have trouble with them as well in terms of keeping an eye on the time. So I have to come up with different ways when I'm on a running machine. But if you ask a member of staff, just it's about asking, and they should oblige. But some gyms don't do that, because what they want you to do is use their personal trainers to then pay. And this is where, this is what I get upset about, that I'm not asking you to train me, I'm asking you to help me use the equipment, and that's what you're there for.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Bickram. Sorry, I'm just checking. Right. So we've got about 3 minutes left. So if it's okay with everybody, I'll just checking. I've just had an email from Kevin with the poll. Remember the poll that we did near the beginning? So from those that answered the poll, remember the questions were about barriers to participation. We had a quarter of people said knowing what's available was a barrier. 31%, so I've gone from fractions to whatever the equivalent is. 31% it was getting there and transport. 6% said cost was a barrier. 19% said accessibility, and 19% self-confidence. So quite a good spread. So it seems to be mainly just knowing what's available. So that's interesting. And the kind of getting there transport bit are the two biggest barriers, with accessibility, self-confidence, and cost coming after that. So cost seems to be relatively small barrier. So that's another interesting thing to know, wouldn't it? I thought that would be a big barrier. So I've learned something from that. So yeah, we've got a couple of minutes left. So what I'm going to do is just sort of sum up now, really. This has been a really good opportunity for people to share, and I've certainly learned an awful lot. And it's the start of a process, this really. So what the Sight Loss Council and Tyne and Wear is going to do is take the information that we've learned and the connections that we've now got with people from the panelists and others who've joined the meeting, and then take a step forward really into making all of the facilities that are available, whether they're specialist ones or whether they're the general kind of leisure centres and other sporting activities and open air activities as well as indoor ones, trying to work to make them as accessible as possible, and using the resources that Martin's developing to help get that awareness across, and through the engagement of our Sight Loss Council members locally as well across Tyne and Wear, and the great sort of openness from the likes of Mandy at North Tyneside. We should be able to kind of do quite a lot as we move out of lockdown and get more active again, trying to get those statistics kind of reversed, get people more active. So thank you very much to the panelists for your time and expertise and insight, and for those who joined as attendees as well. Really value your time and energy this evening. So if you want to find out more about the work of our Sight Loss Councils, just either search Sight Loss Councils or go to sightlosscouncils.org.uk, and there's all manner of information about what we do generally across the country, what our national campaigns are, and what our local work is as well. And if you'd like to join our Sight Loss Council, if you're visually impaired and live in Tyne and Wear, or you know someone who would be a good volunteer for us, who wants to kind of share their expertise and lived experience, we'd welcome them with open arms. You can find out how to join on the website as well. So thank you very much, everybody. And just as we hit the 7 o'clock mark, I will bid you a good night and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Eamon. Just in time for Emmerdale.
Okay, off you go then, Bickram.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.
Thanks, Wendy. Bye. Bye.